Hello and welcome to the Intentional Brief, your weekly video update on the one big thing in cybersecurity news for middle market companies, their investors, and management teams. I'm your host, Shay Colson, managing partner at Intentional Cybersecurity, and you can find us online at intentionalcyber.com. Today is Monday, August 18th, 2025, and we're tracking new developments on the threat actors that we've been covering extensively on the show this year. So we're going to jump right in. There was an article last week over at Hacker News detailing the way in which three distinct threat actors are now collaborating, citing the following, quote, "On August 8th, a new Telegram channel conflating ShinyHunters, Scattered Spider, and LAPSUS called Scattered LAPSUS Hunters emerged, with the channel members also claiming to be developing a ransomware as a service solution called Shiny Spider that they said will rival Lockbit and Dragonforce. 3 days later, the channel was banned and removed by Telegram," unquote. As always, we are here to focus on the so what and guide our cybersecurity investments in the ways that are poised to return the most value on our efforts. And to that end, I would say there are three things that we need to keep in mind with this little bit of threat actor news. First, it should be no surprise to us that attackers are sharing best practices and pooling resources. Like all the rest of us, they are very motivated to put their energy and attention into what works, eschewing the things that are not delivering the results that they're looking for, and asking a friend what's working well for them is something that bad actors do as well. Second thing, don't get too caught up in the names. I know it's cute, I know it sounds scary, and I know that some threat intel companies are making some great slides and presentations and marketing emails based on this, but the reality is we don't really know who is in what group or what prison they might be in at any given time, or if it's just a rebrand of another threat actor group who's working on a different label, and none of that should matter because, as we've noted here before more than once, attribution shouldn't change how you defend your enterprise. Speaking of which, the third and perhaps most important lesson from this article is this: you have to defend against all of these attack techniques. But before anyone feels too defeated, let me add a little bit more color on that last point about defending against all these threats. The way to tackle this problem is to pair the classical construct of both diversity of defense and defense in depth. You should have a robust phishing protection that reduces that risk of inbounds, but then you should also have endpoint detection and response capabilities that help you identify and prevent things from happening on the endpoint. Maybe some web filtering, preventing those outbound connections to sites or destinations that you don't know, paired with some training so that your users can be aware of what is being put in front of them and how to respond. And then back all of this with robust incident response plan, disaster recovery plan, tested and validated offline backups, and all the other things that we've covered. There was an article in the Register late last week that claimed, quote, "At least a dozen ransomware gangs have incorporated kernel-level endpoint detection and response killers into their malware arsenal, allowing them to bypass almost every major endpoint security tool on the market, escalate privileges, and ultimately steal and encrypt data before extorting victims into paying a ransom," unquote. That is shared here just to give you a sense of what the playing field looks like, in that the attackers are continuing to evolve. They have solutions for one of these defenses that we're all now relying on. But the reminder here is that the goal is not to eliminate all of these risks. That will never happen. That's just not going to be possible. The goal instead should for us to be focused on this element of resilience, right? We need to deter these threat actors as much as possible. We need to detect them early. We need to disrupt their attack patterns if they succeed before they can cause too much damage. And remember that in aiming for resilience, our adversaries are looking for efficiency. If we can become a hard target, there's real value in that now and moving forward. The adage of outrunning the bear and outrunning your buddy, that's all true, but really becoming more work than you're worth to attack is probably a very sound strategy these days, and I would encourage you to adopt it. From a fundraising perspective, we saw nearly $15 billion in newly committed capital this past week, including $5.9 billion from HIG Capital on their fourth direct lending fund, $3.1 billion for JMI Equity's 12th software-focused growth fund, and Pacific Avenue Capital Partners, a mid-market firm focused on what they call carve-outs in complex situations, put up $1.65 billion for their new fund. A reminder that you can find back issues and written transcripts of these videos at intentionalcyber.com. All the articles are linked to in the comment section below, and we will see you next week for another edition of the Intentional Brief.